Picture this. A man spends years in a relationship trying to meet his partner's every need, being present emotionally and constantly giving his attention to her. Yet, despite his efforts, something feels off. He notices that no matter how much he invests, she seems less attentive, less interested, and less respectful. The more he focuses on her, the further away she seems to drift. This scenario is all too familiar in modern relationships. It's a reality that many men face but don't understand. Women often lose respect when a man gives too much of himself away emotionally without maintaining boundaries or a sense of independence. It's a paradox. Men believe that by constantly showing their care and attention, they will earn a woman's respect. But in reality, the opposite often happens. This is where the concept of detachment comes into play. Detachment doesn't mean emotional neglect or walking away from your partner. It's about retaining your sense of self, your boundaries, and your individuality, even within the context of a relationship. It's about not losing sight of who you are in the pursuit of her approval or affection. When you can maintain this healthy detachment, something powerful happens. You stop chasing validation, and in turn, you attract respect. In this lecture, we will explore why detachment is essential for earning a woman's respect, how it works in real-life scenarios, and how you can apply this principle in your relationships without sacrificing emotional connection. Detachment isn't about playing games or being cold. It's about establishing your value and showing that you have your own life, your own goals, and a strong sense of self-worth. By doing so, you create an environment where respect thrives. 1. The psychology behind detachment. The psychology behind detachment and respect. In relationships, we often think that giving more of ourselves, our time, attention, and emotions will make our partner respect us more. But in reality, this can backfire. When a man becomes overly focused on his partner and overly available to her, it can create a sense of dependency. This is where detachment plays a crucial role. At its core, respect in relationships is tied to a person's strength and independence. When a man is too emotionally invested and constantly seeks validation from his partner, it can make him appear needy, and no one respects someone they feel is dependent on them. The psychology behind this is simple. People are naturally drawn to others who have their own lives, passions, and independence. When a man shows that he has his own identity and doesn't revolve around the relationship, he becomes more attractive and respected. Detachment doesn't mean neglecting or emotionally abandoning your partner. It means maintaining your own sense of self. When a man is emotionally detached, it doesn't mean he doesn't care, but rather that he isn't reliant on his partner for happiness or emotional fulfillment. This sends a message that he is his own person, which automatically increases his respectability. Psychologically, people respect those who appear strong and self-sufficient, and a man who can stand firm on his own without constantly seeking reassurance is seen as someone who can handle challenges and maintain his integrity. Detachment also means having healthy boundaries, knowing when to give and when to focus on yourself. This balance is key to gaining respect. In relationships, a woman often loses respect for a man when she perceives him as being emotionally needy or constantly at her beck and call. This is a pattern many men fall into without realizing it. The more they give, the more their partner can take, and the less she appreciates or respects them. However, when a man practices emotional detachment, he keeps a part of himself reserved. He maintains his own goals, hobbies, and identity, which in turn makes his partner respect him more. It's important to note that detachment doesn't mean being ceaseful. Her calls immediately shifts his plans to fit hers and sacrifices his own time and desires just to keep her happy. It might seem like the right thing to do, but here's the catch. It often backfires when you overcommit yourself emotionally and constantly place your partner above everything else in your life. Something subtle but dangerous happens. You lose your value in her eyes. Why? because by being overly available, you're essentially sending a message that you don't have much going on in your own life. Your world revolves around her. This gives the impression that you're too easy to access or that you don't have your own ambitions and goals. Respect, especially from women, is built on the idea that you're valuable because you have your own life to live. We've all heard the phrase, "Give a woman space and she'll come to appreciate you more." And that's not just a cliché. When you give her room to miss you, it triggers a natural longing and desire. The key to attraction and respect is not being there all the time, but being able to step back when necessary. That's where detachment comes in. If you're always there, always available, it might seem like you're doing everything right, but this leads to a lack of challenge, which is essential for a relationship to thrive. When there's no challenge, the relationship can feel stagnant, and your partner may begin to take you for granted. Over time, this lack of challenge can lead to a decline in respect. If she doesn't see you as someone with boundaries or a life of your own, she won't value your time and attention. A real-world example, think about when you first met your partner. In the beginning, you probably weren't as emotionally available. You were living your life, pursuing your goals, and maybe even making time for friends and hobbies. During this phase, you were more mysterious, harder to read, and yes, less of a label. And guess what? She was likely more intrigued, more interested, and more invested in getting to know you. That's the magic of detachment. When you stop chasing and stop being available all the time, you naturally increase your worth. You create an environment where she has to come to you instead of the other way around. This creates a healthy dynamic in which both partners value each other's time and emotional energy. It forces her to respect your boundaries and the fact that you have your own life. The overcommitted guy often falls into a routine of giving, believing that if he just does more, he will earn respect. But in reality, it's the opposite. By constantly giving, he loses his value. Respect comes when a woman sees that you're emotionally independent, strong, and can stand on your own, not when you're always scrambling to please her. So, how does a man avoid falling into this trap? The answer is simple. Start setting boundaries. Make time for yourself. Pursue your own interests. And don't be afraid to say no or take a step back. This will show your partner that you have your own life and your own value, and it will naturally increase the respect she has for you. Remember, being too available may feel like love, but it often comes across as desperation. Detachment isn't about being cold or distant. It's about keeping your own life, maintaining boundaries, and making sure your partner sees you as someone with value outside of the relationship. That's the real secret to earning respect. 3. Women don't respect desperation. Women don't respect desperation. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Women don't respect desperation. That may sting a little, but it's crucial to understand. It's not about being unkind or judgmental, it's about human nature and attraction. When a man becomes too eager, too emotionally reliant, or constantly seeking reassurance from his partner, it's perceived as desperation. And desperation is the fastest way to kill respect in any relationship. Think about it this way. Respect is built on the foundation of self-worth and emotional strength. When a man is desperate, it shows a lack of self-respect. He starts to act from a place of fear of losing the relationship, fear of being alone, or fear of not being good enough. This fear manifests in behaviors like over-apologizing, seeking constant validation, or always giving in to his partner's demands, even at the expense of his own well-being. What's the result of all this? A woman loses her attraction for a man who is constantly available, emotionally unstable, or living for her approval. Why? Because it makes her feel like she's the one in control. And women do not respect men who they feel are emotionally weak or can't stand on their own 2 feet. The truth is uncomfortable, but it's important. You must learn to respect yourself first. Desperation undermines your value in a relationship. When you are constantly chasing your partner or molding yourself to fit her needs without considering your own, you signal that you don't have a life outside of the relationship. You put all of your emotional energy into her, and in doing so, you forget to nurture yourself. This leaves you in a vulnerable position where your partner holds all the power and no one respects someone who is out of balance. Let's take a hard look at this. Think about the moments when you've been most emotionally needy. Maybe you found yourself constantly checking up on her, texting her non-stop, or waiting by the phone hoping for a response. Now, reflect on how that made you feel. Did it feel like you were in control? Did it feel empowering? No. It probably made you feel insecure, anxious, and uncertain. And she likely picked up on that energy. Women are incredibly intuitive, and they can sense when a man is emotionally needy. This isn't to say that you shouldn't show affection or be emotionally available, but there's a fine line. Too much neediness comes across as a lack of confidence and a lack of emotional strength. It's the opposite of the detachment we're talking about. Here's where it gets tough. The more you need her, the less she will respect you. The less you need her, the more you'll create a sense of intrigue, and respect will naturally follow. This is a hard pill to swallow, but it's one that every man needs to understand in order to have a healthy, balanced relationship. When you detach emotionally, not only do you start to respect yourself more, but you also start to create a stronger bond with your partner. Respect isn't something you can demand. It's something you earn by standing firm in your own worth. So, if you're tired of feeling disrespected, undervalued, or taken for granted, start practicing detachment. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Develop your interests, your career, and your personal growth. When you take care of yourself first, you'll naturally command the respect that you deserve. It might be uncomfortable to realize that being emotionally dependent can hurt your relationship. But this uncomfortable truth is necessary for your growth. Respect is earned through your strength, your independence, and your ability to stand firm in who you are. Only then will you create the kind of dynamic where both partners value each other equally. Why strategy over impulsiveness earns respect. 4. Why strategy over impulsiveness earns respect. In many ways, relationships are like a game of chess. The pieces on the board represent the various aspects of your emotional life, your actions, and your boundaries. Just like in chess, the key to winning the game of relationships is strategy, not impulsiveness. The man who plays the game with a calculated, thoughtful approach, detached from desperation, will always gain more respect than the man who moves without thinking, letting his emotions drive every decision. When you're too emotionally invested, when you're constantly chasing or overcommitting, you're playing a game without a plan. It's like rushing your moves in chess without thinking through the consequences. This is impulsive, reactive behavior, and in relationships, it often leads to disaster. You might feel like you're doing the right thing in the moment, but in the long run, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're too easily readable, and the opponent, your partner, sees that you're desperate for the win. This doesn't inspire respect. The best chess players are those who take their time, analyze the board, and make moves based on logic and careful planning, not emotion. Similarly, in relationships, detachment allows you to step back and see the bigger picture. Instead of reacting to every emotional cue or feeling, you can assess the situation with a calm, strategic mindset. By playing it cool and keeping some emotional distance, you position yourself as someone who is in control of his moves, someone who is not desperate to win at all costs, but understands the value of playing a long game. Think about it. In chess, making a rash decision like pushing a pawn too early or committing a piece without proper consideration often leads to losing material or putting yourself in a bad position. The same applies in relationships. If you're always moving impulsively, always chasing your partner's approval, always seeking her attention, you're essentially putting yourself in a losing position. You're revealing your emotional dependence, and this makes you predictable and easy to control. On the other hand, when you practice emotional detachment, you're like a chess player who controls the board. You don't jump at every opportunity. Instead, you wait for the right moment to make your move. You can engage emotionally when it makes sense, but you don't act from a place of desperation. The woman you're with will start to notice that you're not easily swayed or manipulated by her moods or actions. You maintain your sense of self, and this is what makes you more at ease, active, and respectable. A good chess player knows that it's not just about making a single good move, it's about the entire strategy. When you remain emotionally detached, you're focusing on the bigger picture, understanding that your relationship is a long-term game. You don't want to win in the short term by giving up everything for her, because that's the quickest way to lose respect. Instead, you strategically balance your personal life, goals, and your emotional availability in a way that ensures mutual respect grows over time. Here's another parallel to consider. In chess, pieces have value. You wouldn't sacrifice your queen for a mere pawn, right? In a relationship, your emotional energy is just as valuable as your queen. You don't give away your emotional energy freely. You hold on to it and use it strategically. When you hold your emotional power, it signals strength. It shows that you know your value, that you are not easily swayed or manipulated. This is when a woman will respect you because she sees that you are a man of substance, one who doesn't just react impulsively to every situation, but instead plays the game wisely. In summary, just as chess requires strategy, patience, and calculated moves, so does a successful relationship. Detachment allows you to play the game of love with a clear mind, using your emotional energy wisely and ensuring that you remain in control of your position. This, in turn, will lead to respect, not because you're manipulating her, but because you're demonstrating that you are a man who knows how to navigate the complexities of life and love with intelligence and emotional strength. 5. The shift from neediness to respect. Let me share a story about my friend Tom. Tom had been in a long-term relationship, and like many men, he was emotionally invested in making it work. He constantly went out of his way to please his girlfriend Sarah. He'd cancel plans with friends, drop everything to accommodate her schedule, and spent his weekends trying to make her happy. Tom thought that if he gave all his attention and energy, it would bring them closer and make her respect him more. But the reality was very different. Over time, Sarah started to take him for granted. She would make demands without considering his needs, and Tom, always eager to please, would comply without hesitation. He felt good about doing so, thinking he was being a good partner. But gradually, something changed. The more he catered to her, the less he felt respected, and the more he started to feel emotionally drained. One evening, after another small argument about something trivial, Tom finally had enough. He realized that no matter how much he gave, it was never enough. It wasn't about doing more for her. It was about maintaining his own sense of value and emotional strength. So Tom decided to take a step back. He started setting boundaries. He began to prioritize his own life, his hobbies, and his friends again. When Sarah asked him to hang out or make plans, he started saying no if he had other commitments. It wasn't about rejecting her, it was about reclaiming his emotional space. At first, Sarah didn't respond well. She was confused, frustrated, and even angry. She wasn't used to Tom saying no, but over time, something interesting happened. As Tom began to detach emotionally, Sarah's attitude started to change. She began to see him in a new light. He wasn't always available, and that created a sense of mystery and respect. She respected the fact that Tom had a life outside of their relationship. His emotional strength became apparent, and she realized she couldn't just walk all over him. Within a few weeks, Sarah's behavior shifted. She started to appreciate Tom more. She respected the fact that he had boundaries, that he wasn't desperate for her attention, and that he was a man who stood firm in his own life. They had healthier conversations, their relationship became more balanced, and their attraction toward each other reignited. Tom's story is a perfect example of how detachment works. It's not about being cold or pushing your partner away. It's about regaining your own emotional independence and showing that you have your own identity, your own life, and your own worth, regardless of the relationship. When you give up your sense of self in the pursuit of making the other person happy, you end up losing their respect. But when you step back, when you detach, you show your value. This experience with Tom is a real-world example of how detachment doesn't mean pulling away completely. It means maintaining your sense of self and setting boundaries. It's when he stopped being emotionally needy and started respecting his own time and energy that Sarah started to truly respect him. His detachment in the right way became a magnet for respect, not just from her, but in all areas of his life. So for all the men out there who feel like they're giving it their all and still not getting the respect they deserve, take a page from Tom's book. Learn the power of detachment. Recognize that your emotional energy is valuable, and when you start putting yourself first, others will see your value as well. The respect you seek won't come from constantly giving and overcommitting. It will come from maintaining your emotional independence and creating balance in the relationship. 6. How detachment creates intrigue, and how detachment creates intrigue and respect. Let's talk about one of the most powerful aspects of detachment, mystery. In any dynamic, especially romantic ones, there's something incredibly attractive about the unknown. When a man is too emotionally available or constantly focused on his partner, he becomes predictable and easy to read. Predictability kills attraction. It's no longer exciting to know that you can reach him any time, that he will always respond within seconds, or that he will always be the one to adjust his schedule to hers. This predictability diminishes the thrill and the respect in the relationship. Now, think about when you first started dating. The early stages of a relationship are full of excitement, mystery, and anticipation. You didn't know everything about each other right away, and there was this thrilling curiosity about what the other person was thinking, doing, and feeling. But as time goes on, if one partner starts to overcommit emotionally or becomes too available, that sense of mystery starts to fade. The relationship, rather than deepening, becomes routine and stale. Detachment brings back that mystery. When you start setting boundaries, maintaining your own interests, and not always being immediately available, you create a sense of space. This space is incredibly powerful because it allows the other person to feel like they don't have everything figured out about you. A little emotional distance can make you more intriguing, more desirable, and yes, more respected. Think of it this way: mystery equals challenge. When someone is emotionally distant or doesn't immediately reveal everything about themselves, it creates a challenge for the other person to figure them out, to understand them better, and to feel drawn toward them. This creates an air of intrigue. No one respects someone they can easily manipulate or predict, but everyone respects someone who keeps them on their toes and maintains their own identity. Here's an example. Imagine you're on a date with a woman who is emotionally detached. She isn't overly eager to share every detail of her day or tell you exactly what she's thinking. She has her own life, her own friends, and her own hobbies. As the date goes on, you start to feel a little more intrigued, don't you? There's something about her that you want to know more of, and that curiosity keeps you engaged. This is how mystery works. It stirs up attraction and respect because you feel the need to earn more of her, to know more of her. You respect her boundaries. And the relationship has more depth. When you practice detachment, you don't play games. You just understand the value of space and mystery. You know that constant emotional availability won't earn respect. And you also understand that being a little less predictable will increase your value. Detachment is about creating balance, making sure there's room for personal growth and space within the relationship to keep things dynamic and respectful. Now, think about this. How often have you felt more interested in someone when they weren't constantly calling, texting, or giving you all their emotional energy? When someone is too eager, it can feel overwhelming. But when they give you space to miss them, to think about them, and to pursue their own passions, it actually makes you respect them more. This dynamic plays out in all kinds of relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, even business relationships. The most respected individuals are often the ones who don't feel the need to be constantly at everyone's beck and call. They make their presence valuable because they understand the balance between availability and emotional independence. By adopting detachment in your relationships, you can reclaim that air of mystery. It makes you stand out as someone who isn't desperate for validation, but rather someone who commands attention and respect through their self-sufficiency. The more you detach emotionally, the more people will begin to respect your boundaries, value your time, and be intrigued by you. In relationships, mystery isn't about being secretive or dishonest. It's about maintaining your own life, your own sense of self, and letting others earn your time and emotional energy. Remember, emotional detachment doesn't mean playing games. It's about creating a space where you don't need constant reassurance or validation. When you stop being so available, it brings back that mystery. And it's this mystery that keeps respect alive in a relationship. 7. How detachment boosts self-respect. How detachment boosts self-respect and attracts respect. Now let's talk about confidence. The secret ingredient that makes detachment not only effective but also powerful. Confidence isn't something you can fake or force. It comes from within, and it's built when you stop relying on others for validation. It's about knowing who you are and recognizing your own worth, regardless of whether or not someone else acknowledges it. This is where detachment truly shines. When you detach emotionally, something incredible happens. You start focusing on your own goals, your own growth, and your own life. As you do this, your confidence naturally increases. You stop relying on the relationship to define your sense of self. You stop looking for constant approval or reassurance. And guess what? That shift in mindset is noticed by your partner and everyone around you. Confidence is magnetic. It draws people in. It's attractive. And more importantly, it commands respect. Let's break this down with a relatable example. Think about the most confident people you know. Chances are these people aren't the ones constantly chasing approval, over-explaining themselves, or seeking validation. They simply know their worth. And that knowledge shows in how they carry themselves, how they speak, and how they interact with others. They set boundaries, they prioritize their own time, and they don't compromise their values for anyone. Now, imagine a man who is emotionally detached in a healthy way. He doesn't chase his partner for attention or affection. Instead, he focuses on his passions, his work, and his friendships. He's not trying to prove his value to anyone. He's simply living his life with confidence, knowing that he is enough as he is. This confidence radiates from him. People respect him because they see that he respects himself, and respect in turn draws more respect. Let's take it a step further. Confidence also comes from the freedom that detachment gives you. When you stop being emotionally dependent on your partner, you free yourself from the anxiety of needing their constant attention. This freedom allows you to be authentic, to be comfortable with who you are without the pressure of constantly needing to please someone. This authenticity is what makes you truly attractive and respected. When you emotionally detach, you're not playing a game. You're simply showing up as your best self, strong, independent, and secure. This isn't about being distant or cold. It's about having the self-assurance to say, I don't need this relationship to feel complete, but I want it to be healthy and mutually respectful. And that confidence doesn't just draw respect from your partner, it builds self-respect, which is crucial for a long-lasting, healthy relationship. Let's get real for a second. Have you ever noticed how the most confident people in a room tend to be the ones who don't seem desperate for attention or validation? They don't chase, they don't worry about being liked by everyone, and yet they often have the most respect. Confidence is built when you stop giving away your emotional energy to others and start investing in yourself. When you detach emotionally from needing validation, you shift your mindset from "I need her to respect me" to "I respect myself enough not to seek constant approval." When a man begins to practice detachment, he gives off an air of self-sufficiency that automatically boosts his attractiveness and respect. He's no longer defined by his relationship. He has his own life, his own values, and his own passions. This confidence makes him stand tall in any room, and it naturally commands respect, not just from his partner, but from everyone around him. The truth is, you don't have to chase respect or validation. When you detach, you automatically demonstrate your self-worth, and the more you respect yourself, the more others will respect you. Confidence is the result of detachment, and it's this confidence that makes you more desirable and respected. So the next time you're feeling frustrated about a lack of respect in your relationship, remember that the key to gaining respect is not chasing it, but living with the unwavering confidence that you deserve it. To wrap this all up, I want to leave you conclusion with a powerful quote from Andrew Tate that perfectly sums up the essence of what we've been talking about. The man who has everything figured out is never desperate. When you stop chasing and start focusing on your purpose, that's when everything you want starts chasing you. This is the mindset we need to adopt. When you detach emotionally, when you stop chasing approval, respect and validation, you allow the right energy to come to you naturally. It's about focusing on your own growth and not being afraid to step back, set boundaries and live your life with confidence. When you practice detachment, you'll not only command respect from others, but will also respect yourself enough to never settle for anything less than what you deserve. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's the next topic you'd like me to dive into for the next video? Let me know in the comments or send me your ideas and we'll explore it together. Thanks for watching. And remember, detachment is the key to respect both from yourself and from others. Keep growing, keep improving, and keep respecting your own worth.